this computer. Okay. All right. Let me. All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to our webinar. It's today we have the title called Green Ramadan and Beyond. Because in the next few days, all Muslims around the world will celebrate Eid al-Fitr, so the sacred Ramadan sadly will be leaving us. And there are many reflections, thoughts, and lessons learned we have experienced that we hope to carry with us in our lives beyond this month. And we will hear today from our wonderful panelists here, and what they learn from their initiatives about like this Ramadan, and also like if there's any plan for the future. So all right, and so as we all know, the purpose of fasting from the Holy Quran that in the month of Ramadan is to attain taqwa, which really means to attain God consciousness, and includes from that the needs to examine our personal lives in relation to divine purpose to bring about the spiritual and also like worldly renewable. So it's a month of reflection and also self-restraint. And fasting is it by itself is a tested and well established instrument to bring about the transformation in a human being, and in also like in our habitual existence. And many verses in the Quran also mention and direct human being to reflect and to contemplate creation as the signs of Allah, which is only a possible undertaking if we are always present and conscious. And with that spirit, we would realize the real meaning of Ramadan in relation to our responsibility as the guardian upon this earth, and also to care for the environment around us, and also beyond us. So as many of us know, and probably not also like but like every day in our human activities, from farming to construction, even to check our own emails every day, affect the environment. And scientists call this ecological footprints, and the measure is they use is called global hectares. And so like ecological footprints itself, as we see in this slide, is the measure on how fast we consume the environment, the earth resources, and how we generate waste, and compare that to how fast nature can observe our waste and generate new resources. So why do I bring this ecological footprint in Ramadan? So we will talk about this like later in this webinar. So, and also like in this today's we have like crisis on poverty, hunger, and as well as environmental destruction, and also climate change. That is if we can see that as an outward of manifestation of our inwards spiritual emptiness, if I could say that, and also causes and leads to a distortion of the meaning as a guardian upon this earth, as we can see in this slide. At the moment, our ecological footprint collectively as a population, human population on this earth, we are on this position that we consume 1.5 earth resources, where in reality we don't have that. So we are in debt for that. So and Ramadan is going to play very important, especially for us as Muslim. We have this every year as a time of reflection, and also like as individual commitment to reduce our today's excessive impact to the world, to the earth, to the environment, and also like how can we lighten the burden of others. And then, and also like Ramadan should be the roadmap to turning away from material and physical indulgence, because this is teaching us to self-restraint. And also it is a spiritual journey that is rooted in letting go, thinking and acting for others, like over the needs of our own self. So there's a lot of components in Ramadan itself, the fasting itself, the charity, zakat, and also like the prayer at night, Taraweeh. It's actually reflecting with all of that. And so how do we, like, why this Green Ramadan initiative come about is actually as part of trying to work that, like meaningful, like notions of Ramadan itself. And we have, like several activities which have, like which focus on the largest impact of ecological footprint in our lives. So I'm just going to go through like real quick, like what those are, before I invite my wonderful panelists today. So first, we focus on our diet consumption, like how we actually, like consume our food. Like so, we encourage people to consume local food during Ramadan, because most food travels like like such a distance, and using like energy, which is mostly like fossil fuel energy, which is like damaging the earth also. So we try to encourage people to consume local food during Ramadan, and eat more vegetables and reduce the meat consumption. And Sister Corey will talk more about that, I think, like today. And also, like like we try to like highlight this about not to waste food, because this is very like like it's very concerning, like a lot of like food being wasted, especially in Ramadan, which is very ironic, because we're fasting and we're supposed to like like have this empathy for others who don't have this access. And like like we have like this issue of wasting food. Why is that like important? Because food waste is a big issue in the world. And like if we just compile all the food waste in the world, actually we can feed the world hunger. So that is very like it's very important. That has to be like part of like our conscience during Ramadan, just to reflect on that. And because like we have this ayah in the Quran that like those who are like wasters are the brethren of Satan, of the devils. And obviously we don't want to like observe like Ramadan, but that like our behavior is actually like the brother of Satan. So like like we need to really like emphasize that, like like a waste, like like wasteful like lifestyle, or like even behavior. And not only food, but also like we use a lot of like things that like end up in the landfill, like plastic bottles or any other plastic thing that we use. And like a lot of like disposable items being used for iftar, for example, during Ramadan. So that this is like like needs to be changed also. And this is the time to like if you want to make a change in your life and a commitment, this is the like like usually people make it in Ramadan, because like based on, I think like there's a study that 21 days is needed to actually change your behavior. So like Ramadan, we have like 29 to 30 days. So that there you go, you can like change your lifestyles there. So besides those, also like like we encourage for energy efficiency, because like especially those who live in the like developed world, like we don't have problems with energy, then people ending up wasting energy a lot. Like like they use like unnecessary energy, and like not being conscious that like just by unplug it or turn it off, you actually save energy. So like also that's like another wasteful behavior that we need to work on during Ramadan. And like and also contemplate like any possibility or even learning about renewable energy, so then we can like like do better to our environment around us. And lastly, but not the least, is how we use transportation, because people live in this modern life, very mobile. People go from one places to another places like every day, not just locally, but also like regionally or even internationally. So like we need to contemplate on this. And I was just mentioning before the webinar that I'm glad that this Ramadan, actually, I'm not traveling. You know, this is the first time after several years that I've, you know, several Ramadans, several last Ramadans, I always travel, not just regionally, but internationally. And, you know, like I feel bad because, you know, like in Ramadan, I'm like, you know, contributing to the carbon emission in on Earth. So this Ramadan, I'm so glad, you know, that I'm actually here. So enough from my you know, like introduction, and I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Nana Firman. I'm the co-founder of Global Muslim Climate Network. I'm also the Muslim outreach coordinator with Green Faith, and I have this three wonderful panelists today, and they're from different parts of the world. We have panelists from the UK, from the US, and from Indonesia. So since Brother Mark in the UK has only like 30 minutes because he has to go back to work, so I'm going to give the first part to him. Take it away.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Greetings from the UK. My role is I'm the development officer for IFES Eco-Islam in the UK. And so what I want to speak to you about today was the plastic-free iftar that took place on Tuesday, the 5th of June, that was done at the Sultan Bahu Mosque in Birmingham in conjunction with IFES Eco-Islam. And this came off another joint program that IFES did with the Bahu Trust, where we looked at, we had an imams workshop where imams worked together to look at environmental issues and to become more aware of environmental issues. And it was a very successful workshop. So off the back of that, we produced the idea of the plastic-free iftar, because it coincided with World Environment Day, which had its emphasis on plastic. And I'll speak about it in a minute, but you know, going forward, we hope to kind of morph this a little bit into looking at more low impact iftars in the future. Okay, I just need to get something up quickly, because if I miss something out, that would be awful. Yeah, so the iftar itself, what we did is, in a sense, we did very little. Okay, there was very little needed to make it a plastic-free iftar, and that's one of the quite interesting things. Is so what we did is we replaced the plastic spoons with wooden and with wooden ones and metal ones for serving. We didn't use plastic plates. We used biodegradable plates. So both the spoons and or the wooden spoons and the plates were biodegradable. Instead of using plastic water bottles, we had jugs, glass jugs, that we then, you know, filled the biodegradable cups with. So basically everything that we used for the night was biodegradable. And then, as I say, we invested in the water bottles, but it's a one-off because, you know, they will then obviously be reusable. We also provided miswaks for everyone as an alternative to using a plastic toothbrush as a demonstration. And I'll come up with one of the difficulties that we had off that in a moment. And so that picture that you can see in front of you there was, I addressed the audience, and the imam was sitting next to me, as you can see there. And the important thing is then he spoke through basically what I had gone through, but we had asked him, we'd given him a prepared speech that he could give, but we'd also asked him to do a bit of research. And so what's really important is that he learned a lot in that process, as he himself said, but the fact that he was able to talk to the audience in Urdu and carry the weight of his scholarship, it meant that it really had an impact on the people around him. But what I'd like you to do is, if you focus on the photograph there, you will see that to the left of the Imam, you can see a stainless steel kind of tower there, and that's what's locally called a tiffin box, which you carry your food in. And then in front of him, there's a stainless steel water bottle. Now, previously, this Imam used to bring his own food in a plastic container. But when he read about what the plastic-free iftar was about, he realized that, you know, this perhaps would need a change in behavior. And so he bought that stainless steel pot and the stainless steel bottle, which he now reuses. But the most important thing is, you know, since that iftar, he takes it to the mosque every day and he uses it all the time. So people can see him, you know, leading by example. So he endorsed what was said. He then gave the talk in Urdu, and that was really important there. And then, as I say, you can see through his own research and through his own commitment to it, you can see that there has been a shift in his behavior, which inshallah will help his congregation basically change their behavior as well. So, Nana, if you can do the next slide, is. So as you can see, there were 300 people there. There were women in the women's area, so that's where the extra numbers came from. And the most important thing is that it wasn't really that different. You know, there wasn't that big a change. So people didn't feel that there was any inconvenience to having to have a plastic-free iftar. And the thing that struck me, and even me, you know, and I'd prepared it, and I'd been part of developing this idea, and I thought to myself, you know, there really is very little that needs to be changed. But when I looked down those rows and I imagined all the plastic that we could have had, that the change on the impact of that iftar completely outweighs, you know, any change that had to happen or any expense, etc. So yeah, if we could move on to the next slide. So the challenges, the challenges are interesting because, sorry, Nana, if you can just go back to the challenges for a second, I'll get onto that one because it's going to take everyone's attention. So the challenges, you know, back to the challenges one. Thank you. All right, so the first thing that we thought about is that, you know, there is more expense. But it's where the areas of expense are. So, for example, you know, in the UK, for 100 plastic spoons, it costs £1. Whereas for 100 wooden spoons, it costs £8. So that sounds like a massive, you know, increase. But what proportion is the cutlery to the total cost of the iftar per head? And so when you actually look into it, on 300 people in that iftar, per head, it was the difference between 1 penny and 8 pennies. So there was only, you know, 7 pennies difference. So it's not that big an expense. And as I was talking to Sister Nana earlier on, the issue that we've got is that we need to persuade people that there isn't only the financial expense, okay, or the immediate financial expense, which is the expense of that spoon. We've got to think about the environmental impact and therefore the monetary expense. We have somehow got to clean that. That's going to cost, whether it be in health issues our oceans and therefore our fisheries, health issues with the poor, who are the ones who suffer this kind of thing worse and first, and the and the cost of cleanup. So in fact, you will probably find that it's cheaper to run plastic-free iftars than it is not to, and therefore we need to change people's kind of views about that idea of expense. But there are other challenges. For example, the toothbrushes that we were using, the miswaks. If you could now go to that next thing. Okay. So this is like a fess up to everybody, right? This here is the plastic that was left from each individual miswak that had been wrapped in plastic. And so we ended up with this big pile of one-use plastic when we were trying to set up a plastic-free iftar. And so that was a real learning lesson from us. I mean, obviously we felt that it would be giving the wrong message if we then gave everybody one-use plastic, as part of the thing. But we've realized now that it's not just, this iftar was aimed at the local community. It was aimed at changing the perceptions of local people and the local community. But we do need to look wider. We need to look at who is supplying our things. So for example, the wooden spoons, you pay a lot more for the wooden spoons, as I've pointed out already, but the wooden spoons themselves came in a plastic bag, not individually, mashallah, not individually, but it's still, the only reason people would be buying wooden spoons is as a replacement for the plastic spoons, because they're trying to cut down on plastic waste. So therefore the supplier needs to understand that they need to pack them in either recyclable plastic or use some other method. So it's a kind of learning and rethink situation for everybody. And for me, what I brought out from that iftar was really how little effort it makes to make a big change to the environment. But it's also about thinking about ways in which you can do that and thinking about your day-to-day behavior. So if we can go on to the last slide. So that's our team, of dedicated individuals who all did the work for it. And I think that, certainly some of the discussions that we were having with people in the iftar, we realized, I got feedback from different members of the team, and they were all telling me that, it had made people think. And in fact, one of the biggest complaints that we got is, why hasn't the mosque been doing this before, and why haven't we done this earlier? And things like, the stainless steel box that the imam uses and the glass bottles that we've got now. The other day I looked in the back of one of our cupboards and I found a glass bottle or a glass jug that I've been in my family since I was a child, and we're still using it today. And so, there's absolutely no need for us to have, we can put water into that jug out of the tap. Mashallah, we're lucky enough to be able to do that in the UK, but then we should. I mean, I can't believe how much water we buy in the UK out of bottles. And so I think one of the biggest messages that I'm trying to give people at the moment is that the reason we got so reliant on single-use plastic is simply because of its convenience. And nothing in our religion tells us that we must lead the most convenient life. We need to lead a life of where we think about others and where we are willing to sacrifice for the betterment of everybody else. And so I find it quite un-Islamic that we should look at convenience, with the kind of beloved way that we do at the moment. And I think there needs to be an attitude change about that. And then finally, as I said, moving forward, on the website, on the IFES Eco-Islam website, it's very much based around the plastic-free iftar. And we have lots of information and resources there for people to hold a plastic-free iftar. But what I will be doing is we will be changing those resources slightly. There is already quite a lot on them to reflect the idea of a more eco-friendly or sustainable iftar in general. So to add to the non-plastic, to start looking at the things that Sister Nana was talking about earlier on around the food that we use, the transportation of the food, the methods we use for cooking it, how much of it we waste, that kind of thing. So I think it was a very, very successful thing. I'm very glad to have been part of it, and I hope it inspires other people moving forward.
All right, thank you, Brother Mark. Oh well, I mean, like a lot of Muslims, when I talk about just the notions of Green Ramadan on a different kind of items or points, they always say why haven't we done this? All the time. So that's a very common response. That means at least the least thing that we could do this Ramadan is to make people think and reflect on it. So inshallah next Ramadan we will do better, and then we will prepare better. But at least just kind of shake their thought a little bit, and then people start to think, and then it's interesting that you mentioned about living in convenience. There's a saying that live simple so other can simply live. So yeah. I mean, we're supposed to share this earth with not just with others as human beings, but also with other creation of Allah. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I would like to invite Sister Corey from the East Coast of United States, and she initiated the Green Ramadan page in Facebook a while ago. So Sister Corey, please share some wonderful things.
Okay. So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, and greetings of peace wherever you are, whatever time zone you reside in. My name again is Corey Majid, and I'm the founder of greenramadan.com and all of its incarnations on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. And I'm coming to you from the Washington, D.C. metro area of the United States, which is home of the newly minted Stanley Cup champions, the Capitals. I don't watch hockey, but it's a win, so go Caps. So beginning with the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the translation of Surah Al-Furqan, the faithful servants of the beneficent are those who walk upon the earth gently. And that was the source of my inspiration for Green Ramadan. So on the next slide, Green Ramadan is primarily a web-based social media effort to encourage Muslims to eat mindfully and tread lightly during Ramadan. So we can use the month of Ramadan as kind of a boot camp for the soul, where we can create these new habits that are beneficial for us and also for the planet. And we can take these habits that we create during Ramadan, or that we start during Ramadan, and we could take them with us throughout the year. So I use the Green Ramadan platform to try to promote practical, sustainable actions that Muslims can incorporate at the masjid, at home, at work, anywhere and anytime. So my first initiative, on the next slide, my first initiative was to reduce the personal waste of my own family at community iftars with what I call zero waste iftar kits. So we were, during Ramadan iftars, I would see, and this is always comes to my mind when I talk about zero trash iftar kits. So when we break our fast, a masjid that I would go to, they would have a small styrofoam cup, and in it would be some watermelon, a few dates, and a banana, or like a half a banana. And we were here the adhan, and we're supposed to break our fast. And so we hear the adhan, we hear this beautiful this beautiful call calling us to excellence. And then we go get a styrofoam bowl and we eat whatever's in the styrofoam bowl, you know, saying Bismillah, making dua. And then immediately, less than a minute later, that styrofoam bowl is just thrown away. And I was just disgusted. And then at the end of every night of Ramadan, there's this huge amount of trash. And I think about this, like, this is happening every night for every person at every masjid, you know, all over the world. And it was something that I couldn't contribute to myself. So I ended up coming up with a stainless steel tray that's deep enough to hold, you know, like soup or lentils or something like that. A BPA-free tumbler. It's great when you have kids, so it'll tip over, but it won't spill that much. A cloth napkin and a bamboo fork, knife, and spoon. And this zero waste iftar kit, it's become a part of our family's tradition. So whenever we go to iftar, my children are like, "Where are the iftar kits?" So they are, you know, they're being conditioned in a good way to not be wasteful, especially during Ramadan. So when I use my iftar kit, I get looks, I get comments, and many times the comments often lead to conversations about the waste that happens during Ramadan, but also about the sustainable roots inherent in our faith in Islam. So for example, the Prophet, peace be upon him, he used to name his possessions, including the bowl from which he drank. So we can get a reward of following the sunnah if we name our water bottle. And we take that same water bottle to iftar every night. So we can begin to develop a deeper appreciation for the gifts of Allah and get the reward of following the sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So next slide. After that first initiative, each Ramadan, I would present a different idea of how Muslims can be green, how Muslims can green our Ramadan. I created an infographic that included 10 tips of how to green our Ramadan at the masjid. It included simple things like using a permanent marker. So let's just say we're not using sustainable stuff. We're using plastic water bottles, and we're using like a paper plate. So if you take a permanent marker and write your name on your water bottle, if you have to use a water bottle, you'll know which water bottle is yours. I can't tell you how many times you'll just see a table of plastic water bottles and people are not drinking the water, wasting the water, because they don't know which one is theirs. So it all ends up going in the trash. Not only is the plastic going in the trash, the water is being wasted. So just using a simple permanent marker to write your name on your plate or write your name on your water bottle, that can help, you know, stop some of the waste. So those 10 tips are one thing that I did one Ramadan. Another Ramadan, I started an online campaign to stamp out styrofoam. So styrofoam, it contains toxic chemicals. It usually cannot be recycled, even if you wanted to. And it does not decompose ever. And so it's like, Auntie, whenever you give me this plate or whenever you give me this tea in this styrofoam cup, Auntie, you're poisoning me. And, you know, maybe Auntie will stop giving me that styrofoam cup. So I encourage Muslims and masajid everywhere, please stop using styrofoam, especially at the masjid. And then there was another Ramadan when I encouraged Muslims to make the switch from single-use disposables to reusables. And I've also given talks at local area masajid with a DC-based organization, Green Muslims. So coming to this Ramadan, we have hashtag meatless Ramadan. I'm encouraging Muslims to eat less meat. So that's the hashtag meatless Ramadan. So when I heard through the Facebook grapevine that Sister Nana was going to go vegetarian this Ramadan, I was like, okay, I have to work with her. So I contacted her and I asked her to team up, and alhamdulillah, she accepted. And she has been sharing, Sister Nana has been sharing what she eats for iftar at home, or when she eats to like at community iftars or at a potluck iftars. She's also shared the struggles of eating vegetarian in places where meat is the norm. I have vegetarian friends who rarely come to the masjid because they know that all they will be able to eat at the masjid is salad, chickpeas, and rice every night, over and over and over again. So it's challenging to be a vegetarian or vegan in many Muslim communities. So hashtag meatless Ramadan is not about meat shaming. Allah has made meat halal, and Allah has also warned us from being excessive. So if we look to the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, we can get a healthy role model of how to include meat in our diet. So the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was semi-vegetarian. Functionally, he was semi-vegetarian. He probably only ate meat on occasion, like the 2 Eids or some type of special occasion, or maybe a wedding, or if it was a gift from someone. And Sayyidina Umar, when he was Khalifa, he forbade people from eating meat every day. If they wanted to eat meat, they had to eat it every other day. And another thing that he said, Sayyidina Umar, was beware of meat because it has an addiction, like the addiction of wine. So we can take inspiration from the Quran, from examples of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and also from his companions of how we should approach meat. We can also look at the effects of the meat industry on our environment, and also in the way that animals are raised for meat today. They're not, most of the time, they're not raised in the way that is halal. And also there are huge resources of water and land and grain that are absorbed in order to make this meat that we eat. And not only that, scientists and nutritionists, they're telling us as well that vegan, vegetarian, and Mediterranean diets are best for our health and best for our planet. So we've got the example of the Sunnah, we've got scientists collaborating. And so this Ramadan, I've been encouraging people to try simple vegetarian meals at least once a week, just once a week. Or you could go vegetarian during the week and then eat meat on the weekends. Or you could eat vegetarian at home and eat meat when you go out. Sister Nana told me that Imam Zaid, that's what he does. He doesn't buy meat. But when he goes out, when he's invited out, he'll eat meat. So that's one way we can do it. So, but if you're really dedicated, you can eat vegetarian, try eating vegetarian for the rest of Ramadan, like Sister Nana. So again, I want to be clear that Allah has made meat halal, but let's try to take a middle path and follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and be mindful of how often we include meat in our diet. So that's hashtag meatless Ramadan. And so I'm just going to end again with the Quran. And Allah says in the translation of Surah Al-Araf, eat and drink, but waste not by excess. For Allah loveth not the wasters. So may Allah keep us from excess in our deeds, from being wasteful of the blessings that we have been given. May Allah make us more mindful and increase us in our good deeds this Ramadan. Inshallah. Ameen. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Corey. That's wonderful, because we need a lot of this talk and discussion in our community, in Muslim in general around the world, with the different, like different level, different approach, different situation and context. But I think like we need to have, I almost think that, like we need like a series of different issues talking about our relationship as Muslim, and from the Islamic teaching to the environment, and like taking it like from, be it like using so much plastic, or extensive like traveling, or like excessive eating, or other thing, or like just like like our lifestyle, like like with this like high consumption and other things. So then like, which is like we need to reflect from like from our own deen and then like also like the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So thank you so much, Sister Corey, for sharing. And yes, you know, like I have my struggle this Ramadan, and I'm, you know, there's a lot of story that I can share for sure. So we have also with us, I think, Hening from Indonesia, who's going to share about Aisyah, which is a women organization, Muslim women organization. It's been there like more than 100 years in Indonesia. Very powerful, you know, like women, and they're just recently wanted to be part of a big movement on, you know, like greening our ummah. So, and then, you know, like as we all, I think, agree that the women position in Islam is the school for, you know, first for their children, but also like for the ummah. And also like we have the Eco Masjid program in Indonesia, which is like, you know, like also, you know, like doing a lot of stuff throughout the year, also like especially this Ramadan. So Hening, are you there? I saw you earlier, but I'm not sure if the connection is good from Indonesia. So let me see if this, I don't see her on again. Hening, if you're there, you have to go to the left corner, down left corner, to unmute yourself. But if not, then I can share a little bit about. Oh, Hening, are you there?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you so much, Nana. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Corey, Nana.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm Hening. I'm a coordinator environment in the Aisyah organization. The Aisyah was established at a long time ago, 1917, in some of the event in Yogyakarta. So until now, Aisyah is more than 100 years. We have a connecting between national and 34 provinces. 34 provinces, that's like in US, I think that's like a country of, what is Nana? Another provincial is like provincial level is like
state.
in America. Yes, like state. So we have 34 state provincial, and we have a network in 34 provinces. Currently, that's Nana. Maybe you can next the presentation.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have a long time ago that concern with the environment, but in the institutional, we didn't put it in the institutional level. So because of the Aisyah is like a structure, and we have the network or in the each of provincial, also a district and until villages. So we need first to understanding about the what they need about the environment. We didn't have a focal point environment until 2015, because environment is only a part of the health and a part of the social. So after a big meeting, all of the Aisyah and the Makassar at 2015, that we have start with the institution of the environment. So me is now is coordinator about it. In our program, started at the 2015, that we have many. First is like about the waste. Waste, it means it's not only a plastic, but also many waste in around of the Aisyah. And now, because of many, we are focused on plastic, less plastic. The second one, at last year, at the how to make it ensure that we have a movement of the environment. So we are working together with the Majelis Ulama Indonesia and Mosque Indonesian Council, because of we have a target aims to green 100 mosques at 2020. I hope this.
I think 1,000 mosques.
Yes, oh, sorry, 1,000. Sorry. My children. Okay, wait me. And under the most, we supported and facilitated the effort to manage first about the energy. The second about water. Third about the environment. Four about the socialization for the community around the mosque, and like the teaching for the environment. And the fifth is about the OS. So we have five item in the Eco Masjid. Wait. Adek, Bunda ada di lobby utama. Ya buruan cepat. Yuk. Sorry, my children call me.
Okay.
And we start with the Eco Masjid with the many mosques in Indonesia, like in Yogyakarta, like in Serpong, that we have put the program in there for the model. So in the culture of the Muhammadiyah and Aisyah, Muhammadiyah, it means that man of movement in the Islamic organization. The Muhammadiyah is man and woman is Aisyah. So at the working with the Aisyah, we make it like a model first. The second, we make a lecture for the a provincial and district level, and we make it a capacity building. So because of the model of the Aisyah is not like a project, not like that, but the Aisyah is like that. We have the program and to make ensure in the institution and make it a model, ensure for the making letter and understanding for the leader, and to make like a model. So our approach is like that. Next, Nana. Yes, and the related with the Ramadan, I think it's the same with our brother. We have a program at May of 5 about the environmental days, that we have a declaration, let's use plastic. So we are together with the some of the organization, not only Muhammadiyah, not only Aisyah, but some of the organization, and working with them for the declaration. And in the declaration, because the important things is in Indonesia, 75% waste in Indonesia is from the plastic. So it is very big. And where is come the plastic? That is majority of the woman. Because if the woman going to the market, if the woman going to the like the mall, so they are bring a plastic, and not only one. Majority, we have the research in the greener, that majority of one people bring 3 plastic in every they are going to the market or they are going to the mall. It means that it's very big. And the second one, because of the condition, we want and we committed to rejection movement in the plastic waste in Islamic culture. And in our thinking and strategy is how to bring the idea like a culture. So the culture, it means as make the people understand, and also they can do with own self. So they will like that. And from this, the commitment, we have the program, the Aisyah Green Idul Fitri. yes, the Aisyah Green Idul Fitri that we sending letter to the Aisyah in 34 province, and this should be sent to the district or district level with some of the condition. First, that this should be asked to the ulama that will speak in the Idul Fitri or in the Alal Bihalal. Alal Bihalal, it means like in Indonesia, it's meeting of family that they have one of speaker about the lesson learn Islam, lesson learn of human and anything. So that is first. The second, in the Idul Fitri, we ask with them to did not using a plastic for the eat for the some of the if they are eating or drinking, because everybody need a simple and just put the bottle in the at home. So we will change. We want the people at changes. And third one is we maybe next, Nana.
Yes. Yeah.
The next one is the if in the silaturahmi are not using plastic bottles as like that I said, and if they still see the plastic, please collecting with this and put it in the bank of waste or sodakoh sampah waste, because we have not all of the program we have a bank of sampah, because we put it sodako sampah after everything is done and they get some money from the waste. So we give for the poor people or yatim children. So why we said that sodako, not bank sampah. Good. Thank you.
Okay, Hening, thank you. And this is some wonderful picture here. This is the waste the waste bank that she mentioned. That you know, like, so people collect whatever waste they have and bring it to the masjid. They have like a bank to collect all the plastics, and then, you know, like, go to recycle. And when they collect the money, they give it to the poor. Or like, you know, and you see here also children are involved on that. And this is, I like this picture. So they have this, you know, like this, you know, like motorcycle, a new one to collect, you know, all the, you know, like waste from the community, like, you know, if they have plastics, like sort of like recycling, you know, like community recycling, but then, you know, like they put the money back to the community, to the masjid, and also like share it with the poor, you know, like, and also the orphanage. So thank you, Hening, for
thank you
for sharing with us, and also like my other wonderful speakers. You know, like, this has been like a good lesson learned for this Ramadan. There's so many things happening. I see, like, you know, from Germany, I got contact from China, from, you know, like from Africa, like different countries, like contacting me, like, oh, how can I do my Green Ramadan in my part of the world? So, you know, like, we want this, like, you know, greening our Ramadan becoming like bigger and bigger, like, you know, like, inshallah. And because, like, you know, as we know that, you know, like Sister Corey also mentioned this earlier, that we are the Khalifa upon this earth, then, you know, like, we need to take care of this earth that is being, you know, like, trusted to us from Allah. So with that, I wanted to we have like a little bit more time. I wanted to, like, what is next after Ramadan? So we want to take all these wonderful initiatives into this big like campaign that I'm working also, which is a multi-faith sustainable living initiatives, because, you know, like, this is our, like, you know, this earth is our common home that we share together. So then this is, like, you know, we work with other people from different faiths with the campaign. It's called Living the Change, trying to focus on the three points, which is diet, consumption, as Sister Corey mentioned, and then also, like, you know, like how we travel, and also like the energy that we use, that Hening also mentioned in the Eco Masjid, you know, how you know, like we are thinking about, you know, trying to have like a solar masjid, like by 2020 for 1,000 masjid in Indonesia. Why we engage with faith communities on this sustainability? Because 84%, according to Pew Research, that world population still consider themselves belonging to a faith. And you know, like how many house of worship around the world, and how many masjid we have around the world. Imagine that if we can, you know, like roll out this initiative in every masjid around the world, you know, this is going to be transformation on our, you know, like consumption habit, be it individually, also communally. And Sister Corey mentioned about Imam Zaid Shakir, like earlier, that he is actually, you know, like showing his leadership on this kind of like transformation of, you know, like living the change as well. And then we hope more and more like Muslim leaders also will, you know, take that path and direction. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have like this year, we have like so many, you know, incredible events upcoming in September. We're going to have like the first, you know, like initiation of these initiatives along with the Global Climate Action Summit in California. We want to collect so many thousands of pledges from, you know, like from people of faith around the world. And I want like Muslim to, of course, you know, like, you know, have a big number there to have a commitment that we want to change our lifestyles. And in October, we will have a global week of living the change, where we want to have like, you know, more than 100 global events around the globe. So then I'm going to talk about this later, you know, maybe after Eid, we're going to have a webinar talking about, you know, how can you join this initiative in your part of the world, and also like what kind of, you know, like events that we can have, you know, like on, you know, trying to roll out this kind of like messaging of, you know, like changing and transforming your lifestyle. And in November, there's the Parliament of World Religion in Toronto, Canada, where it's like 10,000, more than 10,000 religious leaders from around the world will be meeting. And they're going to highlight this initiative because they wanted to focus on climate change and sustainability like for this year's theme. So there's a lot of like interesting things now from people of different faith groups around the world. And I think as Muslim, as mentioned earlier, you know, we are asked to walk gently, like lightly upon this earth, because that's Ibadur Rahman. And also like we are the Khalifa upon this earth. And also like we are asked to keep the mizan, not to, you know, like not to go beyond that, you know, like, and beyond the limits. So please get involved, like go to the Living the Change website, which is like livingthechange.net, and, you know, like join our social media and share your story. You can contact me through my Facebook, Nana Firman, or like you can contact the Facebook Global Muslim Climate Network, and perhaps you want to take the pledge of Living the Change. And, you know, like if you're interested in organizing for the Global Week of Action, then, you know, please let us know. Like, please, you know, like check in our website. We're going to announce some incredible stuff at the end of June. So like be on the lookout, and, you know, like be part of that. And let us, you know, like from this Ramadan, make the intention that it's not just green, you know, like trying to be green during Ramadan, but we want to take this green behavior or green transformation toward the rest of the year before the next Ramadan is coming again. And then we want to have another level of, you know, like greening ourselves. So please check out our website, livingthechange.net, and, you know, like follow us on, you know, like social media, either Twitter, Muslim at Muslim Climate, or Instagram Muslim Climate, and in Facebook page, Global Muslim Climate Network. So I think we are like, you know, about ending our time now. I mean, like I saw like you know, like some comments in the chat box, and I think like, you know, like That's right. You know, we need like more conversation on this. And I think like, you know, like what I'm going to propose that we're going to have a regular, you know, like webinar and have a conversation on different themes, inshallah, after Eid. So like, you know, and then also like how people can be part of Living the Change platform. You know, like we want to see like, you know, as many Muslim faces taking the pledge and also like be part of this. So once again, I would like to thank all my panelists, Sister Corey from the DC area, Hening from Jakarta. So it's like morning time, night time, and then, you know, Brother Mark just have to leave. He's in the UK and I'm in California very early morning. So I wish everybody all the best on the last few days of Ramadan, and may Allah accept our fasting, our prayers, and our charities. And I wish everybody have a blessed Eid al-Fitr. Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Walaikum salam. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.